So, welcome to Traveling on the Chair and our Monday night show. Tonight, we've got with us Mike Fleece from the Alaska Catch. He's going to be talking to us about Ketchikan. Before we get to that, though, just a couple of things I wanted to mention. First of all, is if you like these weekly shows, if you hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell icon on YouTube, you'll get a notification when we get scheduled. And it is every Monday night. Almost always at 9 o'clock. Once in a while, I have to change to 8 because of the guests I have on board, but mostly at 9 o'clock, so you can expect that. I do appreciate you being here. If you're here on the replay, so if you're going to be watching this and it's the recorded version of it, anything that I asked to put a comment in, you can put it down in the comments. For those of you that are here for live for the chat, just put them in the chat box over there. Okay, so now let's turn our attention to Mike. Tell us a little bit about Ketchikan.
We're down in the southeast panhandle, of course. We're generally either the first or the last stop for folks, coming into town on cruise ship. We get a lot of rain, of course, 13 feet. We average a year, but that doesn't let us slow down. When I started coming up to Ketchikan, it's been 14 years ago, so I wasn't a born and raised guy, you know what I mean? I was born in the Midwest, and just like a lot of people had kind of that dream of, going to Alaska, and then the dream kind of became a reality. And, in a blink of an eye, 14 years have gone by, but I've enjoyed every minute of it. I haven't looked back for a second. I think there's so many different things to do when you arrive into Ketchikan, no matter what your interests are. Of course, me being a fishing guide, I'm a little biased on that, but I love being on the water and of course fishing. But the scenery, in Ketchikan, much like all of Alaska, is just absolutely breathtaking. And then when it comes to the native culture in Ketchikan is pretty amazing as well. There's just there's so many things to do, and I think it just has so much to offer. No matter what your interest or skill level or budget is, there's going to be something there for you to do, and
Okay, so we're going to come to fishing at the end of this segment. So,
sure.
But let's start with this. I'm a newbie. I've never been to Ketchikan before. I'm coming up. I got 5 or 6 hours in port. What would be the best use of my time to really get a sense of what Ketchikan's all about?
Good question. There's so much that's going to be right at your hands, within walking distance of the cruise ship ports. And so, I always kind of break it down to like what I do on a nice sunny day and what I do on a rainy day. You know what I mean?
Okay, let's go there.
If it's nice out, I'd be wanting to do this. And if it's kind of a, not such a nice day, then, plan A, plan B. If you're into the outdoors like myself, I like being on the water or in the mountains, so I love the hiking. There's some, really nice trails if you're into hiking that are fairly close to town. Everything seems to be, a taxi ride away in Ketchikan. We've only got 31 miles of road, so you can head about 16 miles north and 15 miles south, and that's about it. But I'd say a few hikes that, off the top of my mind, the Carolina Lake hike is a beautiful hike. The Ward Cove hike, just around the lake, real easy, very beginner, beautiful little hike. Brown Mountain, Deer Mountain, maybe a little bit more advanced. But there's something about, you're on the cruise ship, you arrive into Ketchikan. Everybody's kind of wanting to do the shopping, but to kind of put a boot on the tundra, so to speak, to be able to get into the forest, the rainforest, and the smells, walking through the old growth, seeing the streams, seeing the lakes, getting up to the Alpine if you're able to, or even getting to the top of a mountain, kind of having a bird's eye view, being able to look back down. That's incredible, if you're willing and able. And really, it's not too far away. Most of those hikes, an hour, 2 hours, and you can be right back in town. But right in town there, you've got Creek Street. You've got kind of our downtown area, and there's so many different things. You've got all the shopping you'd ever want to have. You've got some really good restaurants and bars, and with great atmospheres as well. Whether you're trying to get some fish and chips at, say, the Fish House, which is my favorite place to get fish and chips in town, or if you're just trying to have a cold beer at the Arctic Bar, which is right across from Berth 3. Fat Stands is right down by Thomas Basin Harbor. We've got a Baldwin Street Brewery now. You can take a tram up to Cape Fox Lodge. They've probably got the best crab dip that you'll ever have, kind of overlooking the entire Thomas Basin area. But so there's definitely all the bars and restaurants you'd ever want. Going back to let's say if it's a rainy day, we've got some the culture is just unreal in Ketchikan. And so if you're trying to dig into that a little bit, we've got some really nice museums in town. We've got the Tongass Historical Museum. We've got the Southeast Discovery Center, the Totem Heritage Center, and then we've got, of course, a couple totem parks. We've got the Totem Bite Park out north of town, and then we've got the Saxman Totem Village a little south of town. So some of them are right within walking distance that I just mentioned from from the cruise ship terminals, and some of them are going to be a 15-20 minute cab ride away from town. But all of them are very, very doable. And like I said, it's each one's a little different. It has a little something else, something different to offer. So it's you can't go wrong with any one of those. And when you get down by Creek Street, you've got a lot of shopping, but you've also got a lot of local artists down there as well. So if you're looking to kind of dive into some of the local art scene, there's a lot of kind of custom studios along Creek Street and right in that part of town. My favorite one, a lot of clients ask about it, is it's Soho Coho. The artist is Ray Troll. He's really well known in town, and really all through Alaska and the country. You can I would say you can buy an Alaska T-shirt in any port. But if you're looking for something unique, Ray Troll there at Soho Coho puts a really neat spin on his artwork, and he's got some really good stuff. He seems to come out with something new each year, and he puts a nice spin on things. Really, really popular in town. Trying to think of a few other things to do. There's so many so many different things to do. We've got if you've got a nice day. I always recommend booking in advance, no matter what you're doing, just to know you're going to be able to do what if you've got, hey, this is what we really want to do. Definitely recommend booking in advance. Because if you wait till the last minute, chances are popular tours are going to book up. But there's a lot of different sightseeing tours in town. And then you can, there's so many kind of different types of tours. You got like your sightseeing tours. You've got, which may be just like a walking tour. They may be, like a van tour that takes you different parts of town. They may be on a boat that's taking you to different areas. You've got your adventure tours where, you might be, kayaking, you might look into zip lining, there's, you might be on the off-road, SUVs. There's, they got a Zodiac tour. And then you've got your flight scene tours are, really, really popular. One of the main things when I think of Alaska, going back, I think of fishing, I think of the scenery, and I think of the native culture. And when it comes to the scenery, of course, the Misty Fjords National Monument is it's incredible. And, there's really only two ways to see it, by plane or by boat. And if you're ever able to get on a float plane and see the Misties, from with a bird's eye view, it's awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a Ala Marine tour that can take you back there as well, and they'll be able to show you a lot. But when you're in that float plane, it's a whole nother experience. In a lot of cases, they'll be able to drop you down. You can land right on one of the lakes there and kind of get out, and then be able to take off as well. It's an incredible experience. That's kind of, the Misties is a special place. I'm trying to think the other things, like I said, no matter what your interest or skill level, if you're interested in doing something in Ketchikan, I'm sure there's going to be something, available for you. It's just kind of, I always recommend it, if you've got, say, 3 things that you're wanting to do, it's hard to do everything in a 6 to 8 hour time frame. So, try to, when I get folks calling me, they'll want to do 2 or 3 different things. They might have a big family, might have, a family of 5, or, might be 10 in the group. And so what ends up generally happening is they're trying to do 2 or 3 things in an 8 hour period, and half the group will end up, all right, half the group's going to go fishing, and the other half's going to go, do the lumberjack show, and then they're going to go grab some lunch, and then they're going to check out Creek Street. So, you gotta really be, punctual as far as, knowing what kind of time frame you've got to work with, and then knowing that you want to be able to enjoy it too. You don't want to have to go boom, 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 and try to squeeze everything in, and then you don't really get to enjoy it all. So it's, I don't. I hope that helps a little bit, but there's a lot to do. Like I said, I get folks. I get the question a lot. If we have to cancel on account of the weather, which doesn't happen often, but we do have a few trips every year that we're just not going to be able to go out. And then I get the question, what would you do today? What would you do if you were us? And I kind of get a feel for the client. What are you guys into? Are you more like, you looking for a coffee shop? Are you looking for a pub? Are you looking for some food? Are you wanting to see museums? Is there any particular shopping that you want to do? And and then from there, you don't know what kind of response you're going to get. You might get, my wife's a quilter. Is there a quilt shop in town? Absolutely, and you're able to kind of take it by a case basis, but then a lot of times there's, hey, we heard about this, this Potlatch Park. Can you point us in the right direction? We want to check that out, so there's something for everybody, but I would say always try to book in advance if you can, no matter what you're doing, to guarantee your spot. And then, just talk with the operator. If you've got 2 or 3 hours after whichever tour you're doing, in a lot of cases, you can fit something else in. If you've got your 4 hour or 5 hour window of whatever it is you really want to do, and then you've got a couple extra hours, we'll point you in the right direction where you can get the best fish and chips, or you can get the coldest beer, or the best Bloody Mary, or whatever it is that you're looking for, and a lot of folks are wanting to do a little shopping, grab a little lunch, or there may be a particular thing that they're seeking out. So, and really it's generally no problem being able to help everyone out when it comes to that sort of thing.
Okay, let me grab it. We got a question here. Pam Wheatley said, for somebody that's a newbie, this is their first trip, and they're going to be using a scooter. So they've got one of the, little mobility scooter. What are some of the things? I know Creek Street. I'll speak from my experience. Creek Street, it's a little bit uphill from the port, but not bad. And then after you get to it, it's all very accessible. With my wife's wheelchair, we had no problem. But what else? What other things could she get to on a scooter that would be interesting? Right within the kind of the confines of the Creek Street area, you've got the Southeast Discovery Center. I know they're wheelchair accessible. It's really a nice setup that's kind of, right down by Berth 1 there. You've got, a lot of the different, art studios, I think you would be able to get to as well, right down in and around there. In a lot of cases, it's depending on the business or the tour company. They may be able to, if you can get into, like, say, a taxi cab, or the, get basically, if you can get to where they're
kind of offices, they can get you set up to where you could go on a sightseeing tour. They could either, bring the scooter or the wheelchair, along, or the walker, whatever it may be. You could bring it along. They'd have storage in the back of some of their sightseeing vans. Because a lot of the companies, they're kind of be based, the pickup and drop off kind of right down by the cruise ship terminals. But then they're going to go kind of all over the town, and I would think that you would be able to do that. I know with when we're running fishing charters, we do everything we can to accommodate. Whether it's bring the scooter, walker along, and a lot of times we'll be able to leave if it's like a mobility scooter, like the real heavy ones with the heavy batteries, we can leave them right at the dock to where it's right there, safe and secure for when we get back. And I think a lot of the other tour companies offer that as well. I know, for example, like the Allen Marine Tour, that would probably be a great option because you've got so much room on that kind of a 2-level catamaran to where you could, they would be able to take you back into the Misties and be able to experience that without any problem. The Bering Sea Crab Fisherman's Tour, they're again a bigger boat, real popular tour. They may be handicap accessible as well with the type of vessel that they're on there. But in the downtown area, like I said, you got the Tongass Historical Museum is really close to town, and the cruise ships. You've got I'm trying to think. Creek Street's probably the most popular one, but you've also got a couple of really nice parks that are within walking distance from there as well. Trying to think what else may be a good fit there, but
and let me just chime in for a second there. But as Pam, when Cheryl and I went last year, we took a tour, and we got this one through the cruise. We'll come back to that question here in just a second. But when we did that tour, we booked it through the cruise line because it was already sold out off if you didn't go through the ship. But they were able to take Cheryl's in her wheelchair down to the ship, and then she had to walk like a couple of steps, and they would have been able to put a scooter on the back. Well, it's called a boat, on the back of the boat the way it was set up, and you just had a couple of small steps, and then at each end it was all pretty much. See, one more question from Pam. We'll get it here in a second too, but it was all pretty much wheelchair accessible. In fact, I've got a video on that on the channel, Pam, where we went out into the forest. They actually have a boardwalk, and I pushed Cheryl out into the forest, and you can see some really cool old trees and moss and stuff. It's out in the middle of the Tongass forest. So Pam asked about, can she get to the totem parks, either of them with a scooter?
That's going to be a little further out of town. I would say you're probably going to need, to get to either Totem Bight or the Saxman Totem Village. You're going to need to. You're not going to be able to get there. I wouldn't say, on the scooter itself. I would say you'd need to. It'd be a cab ride, definitely.
What about you guys have a bus, right? That runs.
We do. Yeah.
Is the bus accessible?
I believe so. There again,
I'll check on that for you, Pam, and find you an answer.
I wish I knew. You know what I mean? I don't want to, give misleading information, but the other thing, like I say, the Lumberjack show is definitely wheelchair accessible. That's a great hour and a half, experience if you've never seen that before. Right down by Berth 1. That would be really easy to get to as well. I'm trying to think. I know the Saxman in the Totem Bight may not be within range, but I know I want to say the Totem Heritage Center would probably be the closest that you could probably get to on the scooter itself.
Okay, all right, and so she asked one other question. This is a good generic question for everybody. Is it better to book with the ship or book private?
That's a good question. There's a couple trains of thought there. I would say book independently. Of course, I'm an independent operator, so I'm going to support the little guy, if you will. A couple things on that, there's the bottom line is you're generally always going to save money if you can book directly, whether if it's a fishing charter, a float, float plane, or whatever you're trying to do. The cruise ship's gonna take a cut, and it's a substantial cut. 30% markups, and they kind of portray it in different ways. They guarantee you that you're going to get back to your ship, and you'll be the first one off if you book through us. So they kind of, in some years it seems like, when I'm talking to clients, the cruise ships are pushier or have a different pitch or a different angle to try to get you to book through them. But you're definitely going to pay a premium if you do. The other thing is that any tour that's actually that you book on a cruise ship, there's no sales tax collected. So none of the revenue, none of the sales tax is actually going back into the community. You know what I mean? When you purchase something through the cruise ship. So that's another thing. When you purchase a charter, we've got to charge sales tax. So a portion of the sales tax that we collect is being redistributed back into the communities. So when you think about how many tours are sold on a ship, and that's a lot of revenue that's not being there's not any tax being redistributed back into the smaller communities. So there's kind of that angle. The other thing is kind of the personal edge of it too. The thing to even be able for a company to be able to even get a contract with the cruise ships, they've got to be able to do value. You know what I mean? And so that's always kind of a funny thing. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot of different companies, some big, some small, some medium, and there's some big companies that run a very well-oiled machine, and are on top of the game. And then there's some that don't, and it's it's kind of I think when you can deal with a smaller company that can really focus on the personal attention, you're going to get more of what you're looking for. It's just kind of it comes down to a numbers game. Like, I hate to go back to the fishing charter, but I'm a fishing guide, so I know kind of that avenue more so than others. When you're booking a trip through the cruise line, they're going to try to max out whatever it may be, whether it's a boat, whether it's a plane, whether whatever you're getting on to experience your tour. There's going to generally be a maximum capacity. So like with a 6-pack charter boat, you're always going to have 6 clients on that boat. Whereas, if you're a family of 4 and you want to go on a private float plane or a private fishing charter, it's going to be harder to do if you book through the cruise ship. And if you do that, you're basically going to pay for each seat, and then each seat's price is going to be 30% more if you would have just booked through the flight scene or the fishing charter company. So to kind of wrap that question up, and it is a good question. I feel like you're going to get a more personalized service booking independently. I think you're going to get the best price booking independently. Some of these bigger companies, it's like once you get that cruise ship contract, sometimes you get a little relaxed on the product. You know what I mean? For the smaller businesses, we're living and dying off of each review, each person's experience. So we're trying to go above and beyond every single time. You know what I mean? Because that last review, that last client's experience, it's either going to be we had a great time out there, or it's going to be I'll never do that again, So you're wanting to be able to show somebody really, we say it a lot, but an experience of a lifetime, because no matter what excursion you're going on, you're going to spend good money on it. And so yeah, with a bigger company, you're going to get some folks that are really passionate about what they're doing, and then you're going to get some folks that maybe should have retired a few years ago, and then you're going to get some folks that are kind of deer in headlights. Am I doing it right? You know what I mean? And I think you're more susceptible to dealing with those 3 issues if you're dealing with a large company, and a large company is generally who has the cruise ship contract. If you can find a smaller local company that's been doing it for a while, it's probably a pretty safe bet. And there's this day and age, you can, read reviews on, a number of different platforms, TripAdvisor, Google, Cruise Critic. I mean, there's, just to name a few, so it's not hard to really research what it is. So it seems like every year that goes by, more and more cruise clients are more comfortable booking independently. And then when you look at, if you're doing 4 or 5 excursions throughout your cruise, the amount of money that you're going to save over the, course of your cruise is going to be substantial. So, we're, I don't know if that wraps it up. I could take it other angles, but yeah.
I think you answered that question. And, and I would agree with Mike, because I booked mine independently. Like I said, the only one we've booked in recent history has been the one, because that was the only way we could get that particular one. And I wouldn't even necessarily have chosen it. It was my granddaughter's choice, and you give your granddaughter what your granddaughter wants.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I have some other questions. Let's get to them. So when's the best time to visit Ketchikan?
There again, I would say whenever you can get there. You know what I mean? It's really, mid-May through mid-September. The thing about it is like generally the nicer the weather, like July, it's usually a busy month. You know what I mean? So, July is a great month, weather-wise, fishing-wise, it's usually when you're going to have the highest volume of people in town, so, the best time to visit, that's a tough question. You know what I mean? I think no matter what you're doing in Ketchikan, everybody asks when's the best time to come when you're not going to get rained on. There again, I can't play weatherman, but I would say early on though, the month of May, early June, it can be a little chilly. You know what I mean? I've had some folks that you step off the cruise ship and you're wearing ankle socks and tennis shoes, and you're going out on a fishing charter, and it starts raining, and folks can get chilled pretty easy. Now that being said, we provide rain gear, jackets and bibs, but I think a lot of times folks are surprised that when it's 48, 49, 50 degrees in May, and then the clouds roll in and it starts raining, you can get chilled pretty easy. So, early on, it can, if temperature wise, it can be a little chillier. But once we get in the second half of June, all through July, August is a beautiful month. Even into September, 8, 10, 12, 14 years ago, September was always like that month you didn't know what kind of weather you were going to get. You didn't know if you're going to get beautiful August weather or if you're going to get, real rainy, windy October weather. But keep your fingers crossed. The last few years, September has just been an absolutely phenomenal month. And weather-wise, it's been absolutely beautiful. So, I know, you can sometimes get a really good deal, on your cruise packages if you're looking early season or if you're looking kind of late season. If I had to choose between early or late season, I'd probably go towards the late season. It seems like even though most businesses are operating, all of May, June, July, August, and September, the majority, the bulk of everyone's business is between, like, say, June 15th and August 15th. That's the busiest time of the year. And, it's just, it's when families are taking vacations. A lot of families have kids in school before June 15th. And after August 15th, they're starting to get ready to go back to school. So, that's kind of the peak right there. There again, the fishing's generally a little better in September than it is in May. The weather's usually a little bit better. But the end of June, all of July, all of August, I don't think there is a bad time to go, to visit Ketchikan or to visit Alaska in general. I don't, each day is always different. You know what I mean? Whether, you're on the water or, in town, in the mountains, everything's always changing. I don't think there's a bad time to come. but
and here's a funny thing. Both times we've gone, we've gone in very late May, early June, and we've had great sunny days. We hit the lottery both times. I do have a question for you though. We're gonna come to fishing here at the last, but before we get to fishing, let's talk about when do the salmon start to run up Creek Street, because that is a site that most people would, it'd be a once in a lifetime sight to be able to be there and to see them running like that.
Yeah, no, it's the kings start coming in early. You know what I mean? our month of May's been pretty much catch and release, you know, for the last couple of years. And then it's been opening up for sport fishing about June 15th. And so, you know, it's not like there's one certain day where all these fish are going to be in the creek. You know what I mean? What happens is you've got these different runs that tend to kind of overlap. So we get our kings kind of showing up first, you know, May, June. If you're looking to see them, you know, in the creek, you know, I'm always out on the ocean, so I'm never in town in the creek, you know, to be able to see them in the creek. But you know, they start stacking up. You know, I'd say end of June. You know, if you know, an area where we fish a lot is down by Herring Cove, and you know, it's where they offer the zip line tour. If you're looking for a chance to kind of see salmon and bears kind of all in one shot, taking a little taxi cab down to Herring Cove. You can look on one side of the street or the bridge and see the salmon coming through. You can look on the other side of the bridge and you can see the black bears back in there. And typically that king run there starts kind of peaking out at the end of June, right around, I'd say, 4th of July. So, you know, you got from, you know, like June 15th, and then they're usually pretty thick in there till about, you know, June 10th or July 10th. I'm sorry. So, you know, and then from there you get, you know, like I say, you get like your cohos starting to show up, your pinks are starting to show up in July. August, you know, is when they really start getting thick. So if you're looking to see, you know, salmon in the creeks downtown, I'd say end of July, early August, it's pretty guaranteed bet. But, you know, there's generally you can see them somewhere, whether it's, you know, downtown where it's very accessible, or whether you know, maybe need to take a taxi down to Herring Cove. You know, Herring Cove's, you know, pretty incredible down there. You know, like I said, I mentioned the salmon. You'll see on the one side of the bridge, the bears on the other side. You know, as far as photographing goes, the eagles in the trees down in that area, it's you know, there's generally a you know, as far as numbers wise, you know, it's not uncommon to see, you know, 20, 30 eagles in the trees right down there around Herring Cove as well. So it can be, you know, really neat place down there, just a little south of town.
Okay, so now let's get to your area of expertise. I want to plan a fishing trip into Ketchikan. And so if I wanted to do let's get some mixed bags, some salmon and some halibut, and I think I saw on your website some big rockfish too.
Yeah. You know, no matter what time of the year you're coming, man, we've been doing it so long that, you know, we can really kind of customize a trip for you. The month of May, you know, May's generally the slower fishing, you know what I mean? So I would say if you were doing like a destination, if you were coming to fish, you know, say into Ketchikan, you know, May's a slower month for salmon fishing. And that being said, because it's king season, kings are basically catch and release. So during the month of May, we don't generally focus on a lot of salmon fishing because it's all catch and release, you know. So for the best action for the month of May, we generally do our halibut fishing. And halibut fishing is generally pretty darn good from May all the way through September. So halibut fishing, we can generally get you on top of them. The only time it's tough to get on top of halibut is when weather's an issue. We're a little bit, you know, the halibut grounds are a little bit more exposed than our salmon grounds. Our salmon fishing grounds are about 15 to 35 minutes from town, on a you know, boat ride from town. Our halibut fishing grounds are about 45 minutes to an hour. So we poke out there a little bit further to fish halibut. A great combo trip during the month of May is a crabbing halibut combo. We'll take off. We'll have the crab pots. It's a fun experience, you know, for kids or families, or, you know, even adults. You know, we run out to the crabbing grounds. We'll bait the crab pots up, get them soaking. From there, we'll run out to the halibut grounds. You know, hopefully get our limit of halibut. And then it's always kind of, while you're halibut fishing, I wonder if we have any crab. You know, then running back in, checking the crab pots. You know, that can be a lot of fun, and that's kind of the combo trip that we offer in the month of May. As we get into June, that's when we're really kind of getting into the, you know, peak of the king salmon fishing season. This year, I believe it's opening up June 15th. So from June 15th all the way to about July 10th is kind of the peak of the run in our area. Then from there we get, kind of a summer run of cohos in July. And then our pink salmon start showing up at the end of July. And then, all the way through August. It seems like, no matter what day you're fishing, we're going to be able to, not only get you on fish. And what a lot of clients, they kind of put it on the captain. It's like, hey, you're the expert. We don't care what we're fishing for. We just want to catch, And I think when it comes to a lot of different fishing charter operators, there's what we call a charter halibut permit. And if your company or your operator has that charter halibut permit, you can offer really a combo charter. You can go salmon fishing, you can go halibut fishing. If you get your limit of halibut, you can switch over and spend the rest of your trip salmon fishing. So I think it's important to make sure that you do have that option, because if the salmon aren't biting, you can switch over and halibut fish. If the halibut bites slow, vice versa. So anytime you're booking a fishing charter, make sure the company has that CHP. And of course, we have those on all of our boats. And I think that's a big asset for a fishing charter company to be able to kind of, nothing's worse when, the fishing's slow. And if you weren't able to switch over and halibut fish, you're going to be salmon fishing the whole day, and whether they're biting or not, so that gives our clients a little bit of flexibility. But being able to incorporate the crabbing when, say, the salmon fishing slow in May, as we get into August, that's like pink salmon season, and that can be a lot of fun. The pinks, they're, they provide a lot of action. They can, keep everyone on the boat, busy, Yeah. As we get into the mid to late August, it's kind of getting into our fall coho run. And there again, they're a lot of fun as well. I get a lot of times clients, it's almost like you have, clients that are, say, flying in, they're either, wanting to focus on the king salmon at the end of June, early July, or they're wanting to focus on the coho from mid August all the way through September. And, so when it comes to your salmon fishing, that's what most folks are after. They're after their kings, or they're after their cohos, and the pinks in the summer run of coho in July and early August provide a lot of action as well. But, best time to fish, there again, if I run, say, 100 trips a year, let's say, there's usually only 2 or 3 days where it's really tough out there. Generally we're able to get our clients on our halibut. We're able to get them on top of the salmon. The rockfish, the lean cod, the crabbing, the shrimping. We can try to incorporate that as well. There again, it's kind of we get a couple different ways, to our, we're trying to cater towards our clients, of course. A lot of times the clients are like, this is my bucket list fish. Put me on this fish. You know what I mean? So it's like, I want to catch a lean cod, or I want to catch a halibut, or I want to a king salmon. So you might be, as the captain, you might say, the fishing's been slow for those. I know we can catch these. If you want to catch that, we're going to have to work for it a little bit, so you're going to have some patience. But that's the fun part of it too. Sometimes folks are like, nah, I'm not interested in catching that. I'm not interested in catching that. This is what I want to catch. And then sometimes folks are like, hey, we just, put us on whatever's going to provide the most action for me and my family, or, we want to ship some fish home. So once you think we've got enough fish to, ship home, for a nice meal, just take us to, everybody's interest is different, So some folks, they want to stock the freezer. Some folks just want to, a fresh meal, some folks want a shore lunch, and we're generally able to, to accommodate whatever anyone's interest is there, But
I will say that people that have never had fresh ocean run salmon, in particular king salmon, don't know what they're missing. I spent some time down in California in the 20 years ago. They would bring fish into Morro Bay, which is kind of like the south end of where the salmon were. And I'd go down there and get them when they brought them in off the ship, and take them home and cut them in steaks, rather than fillets. And they'd grill up there, with all that, their marbled, and you put that on the grill. It's just, like I said, you've never had salmon until you've eaten it like that,
I get the question all the time, what's your favorite fish to eat, and my answer is always a fresh one, and no, there's nothing better, I know, and that's interesting. Some folks are generally, only interested in salmon fishing, or some folks, they're not really, I'm not a fish eater, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, if you're not a fish eater, let's try something mild, like, try some halibut, you know what I mean? And folks will, they don't even know they're eating fish when they're eating it sometimes. Like, man, this is good, it's like, absolutely. But no, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say, let me throw in one more question here. So for people that didn't get to come to Alaska on the cruise season this year, what's your best guess as far as availability, like of lodging and land-based? You said it's a short flight up from Seattle. So if they fly in, what are the odds that they're going to be able to put together a place to stay and, a fishing excursion or something?
Yeah, no, good question. We're kind of waiting to see how things are going to shake out still a little bit here. Talking to, different tour operators in town. But you're absolutely right. Ketchikan, we're about an hour and a half flight from Seattle, real easy to get to. And so, I think, what kind of puts us at a competitive advantage versus some of the other ports is one, how accessible we are. An hour and a half flight from Seattle, that's a piece of cake. And then, we've got really nice protected waters in and around our areas. There's a lot of areas where you'll fish in Alaska that are just so exposed. You know what I mean? So you might plan this 3 or 4, day fishing trip once you fly in, and then you might get 2 or 3 days canceled on account of the weather. In Ketchikan, no matter what the weather's doing, we can pretty much always get out, and we're not gonna, take you out into rough water. What I'm saying is we've got so many islands, so many different bays that we've always got, if the halibut grounds are choppy, we can go salmon fishing, we can go crabbing, we can go rock fishing, we can go lean cotton. And then when you get the days that are nice, you can run extended range out, kind of fish the outside waters. And so that kind of, really helps things out. I've had the question from a lot of my clients this year, folks that had trips booked on their cruise ships that are, now kind of looking at, hey, my family, we were going to take this Alaskan cruise. Now we're looking into, just spending, maybe 4 days in Ketchikan. We want to fish maybe 2 days with you. And then what are some other things? And that's the neat thing about it is no matter what you do in different ports, you can almost, do it in Ketchikan, because we're going to go kayaking, is there a kayaking company in town? Absolutely. Well, a couple of us were wanting to go zip lining, so you can really, plan a neat kind of itinerary for the week or 4 or 5 days, whatever it may be, right there in Ketchikan. We're kind of waiting to see. I think June 2nd is when they're going to kind of reassess the 14-day quarantine that's going on right now. With the cruise ship numbers way down, and then kind of still waiting to kind of see how that whole scenario is going to play out. The 14-day quarantine is going to be kind of a challenge for someone that's going to be flying in. So I'm hoping that it gets lifted to where if folks can't come in on a cruise, they can potentially fly in and stay in town. And because that's talking with a lot of different charter operators, we're all kind of a close knit group up here, and everybody's it's been tough. You know what I mean? How many cancellations did you get today? How many cancellations did you get today? But a lot of folks are looking ahead to 2021, or from looking to rebook for 2021. And then a lot of folks are hey, we can't go on the cruise, we want to fly in. So I've had a lot of folks that were flying in to fish king salmon in June that have now kind of switched to fish with me late August, early September for the coho run, the fall coho run. And hopefully, some of the restrictions are lifted and it's more accessible for them to be able to get into town. I don't have the bet. I don't know if I answered your question, Ken, or not, but it's going to be, it seems like a revolving door. You know what I mean? It seems like, one week we're playing by this set of rules, and then a week goes by, then we're playing by this set of rules. And so, I think, I guess from the onset of the whole scenario, you know what I mean? It was like, just to kind of summarize what a lot of the operators were going through. It seemed like at first it was like, all right, we kind of hit a little, all right, there's a red flag. And then it's like, all right, we hit a little speed bump. And then like, all right, there's a big pothole we just hit here. And it's like, oh, wow, we just drove off the cliff here. You know what I mean? So it's been an emotional roller coaster, if you will, but I've learned a long time ago not to try to control things that are out of your control. And being a fishing guide, I can't control the weather. I can't control the tides. You know what I mean? So I've got to make the best out of every given situation, no matter whether it's the hand we're dealt with the weather for a day out on the ocean, or whether it's the hand that's being dealt with what's going on with everything COVID related for this upcoming season. Hopefully we'll be able to salvage a little bit of it in July, August, September. Cautiously optimistic. I've just tried to, kind of from the onset of it is, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and kind of live the fight to see another day. And fortunately, there's going to be a lot of people are going to be, hurting from this, but there again, you know what I mean? There's folks that, there's folks that are, have family members that are passing away from this as well. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's the kind of the financial side of things. And then there's the actual reality of what's going on as well. So, I don't know where the balance is there, you know what I mean? But I just, I want everybody safe. I want everybody to feel, confident when they do come into town. And I know moving forward, if we are able to take folks out, we're going to do everything in our power to, keep our boats clean, disinfected, masked, sanitizer, the whole bit. There's different protocols that we're going through to try to comply with kind of the set of rules that are being given to us right now. And it's the way I look at it, I'm a fishing guide, but in all reality, I'm in the service industry. So I'm going to bend over backwards to try to make somebody feel comfortable and safe on my boat. The one thing is we only offer private charters. And so it's only like a dedicated group of people. So in most cases, it's a family or maybe two couples that are taking a cruise together. So the people that are on my boat already know each other. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm taking a single here and a single here and kind of mixing and matching. You know what I mean? You're not, you're going to know who you're on the boat with. And that always kind of makes people feel comfortable, no matter what, but even more so, now given the set of, circumstances and the situation at hand. So yeah, I wish I had the answer on how, things are, if and when things are going to open up or how things are going to play with this, the quarantine for folks flying in. And I know, I know I've had folks that have, had a trip scheduled for May that they scheduled for July, that, they scheduled for, August, that they're now scheduled for 2021. So, I just, I think we've all kind of got to be a little patient and flexible, I just, I got into, fishing because, and guiding and starting the Alaska Catch because it's something I love to do. It's something I'm passionate about, but, every business kind of has its cycle, and so this year's going to be a tough one, there's no question about it, there's not going to be a whole lot of meat on the bone, if you will, but, we'll get through this. We'll be ready, for what's left of this cruise season and moving forward for next season. And hopefully folks that, if you can't get up on a cruise, hopefully there is some opportunity. Like I said, July is a beautiful month. August is a fabulous month, early September, as well. And, I've got folks, that are calling me right now saying, how much is a round trip ticket usually cost? From what I'm gathering is folks can, it's about 1/3 of the price that it typically is, so I'm getting folks, that are really interested in coming up, but there is kind of that question mark, you know what I mean? And I just have kind of been saying, I'll tell you as soon as I know. And right now, I just don't know what's going to happen moving forward as we look into July and August and, September. But I would have to think that, the other day, the governor, was saying that, we're, in Ketchikan, we had 16 cases, and it's been several weeks now since we've had a new case. And they're basically saying that the 14-day quarantine is one of the main reasons that that's happening. Like when you fly into Ketchikan, you need to give them the address where you're going, and you're going to quarantine there for 14 days. You got to have somebody get your groceries and everything right then, in advance. And so,
Yeah.
And so that's been helping, but, is it going to be like that all summer long? How does, how do the fishing lodges, the independent operators, the folks flying in to, say experience, how is that all going to play out? And, again, it sounds like June 2nd is when we're going to get an update on that. So hopefully things will relax a little bit so we can kind of go back to a little bit of, normal. I feel like, if everybody's following their safety protocols, within their businesses, on their boats, hopefully that'll, kind of help contain everything, so to speak. So, regardless, I'm still excited about, it's going to be hard to social distance when I, haven't, taken clients out all of May and all of June. I'm going to want to run up to my first client and give them the biggest hug I've ever given. I'm excited though. I'm really excited. It's, if there's a silver lining, I'll be able to spend more time with my family. Usually throughout the summer, we're so busy, you know what I mean? Kind of, whether it's, working on reservations, whether it's, working on boats, maintenance, the fish, just the, the kind of
Yeah.
I'll call it a grind, but it's really a labor of love. You know what I mean? I enjoy what I do, but sometimes, the family kind of takes a back seat a little bit during the summertime when we're kind of going through it all. And so I think I'll be able to spend a little bit more time with my family this year. I'm truly going to be thankful for everyone that is able to make it into Ketchikan this year. And, it's just been, I know folks, everybody's plans have been thrown off, no matter if you're, trying to travel to Alaska, if there's a wedding that you were going to, or, you know what I mean? It's, one thing about it I feel though is like, I just feel like people like to travel, you know what I mean? So, and especially after being quarantined for, you know what I mean? Whether it's, you've been, staying at home for a couple of months now or working from home or, everybody's, been in a different situation than what they're accustomed to. But there's never, I feel, a bad time to come to Alaska, I'm excited for when everything starts opening up and we kind of get going back to normal. And I think the biggest thing is folks want to, feel safe. And they want to, have the confidence that they're able to do it, and stay safe while they're doing it. So,
yep. Okay. Well, Mike, let me get you to hang around for a minute. I've got to put up the show schedule and say goodbye to these folks here, and then we can chat for just a second. All right. You've been a great guest. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Ken.
Okay. So for everybody, here's the June show schedule. The 29th, I still don't have booked. John Sage is a person that uses a wheelchair full time, and he has a company that does accessible Caribbean vacations. He also does accessible travel in Europe. So he's going to be on to talk about Caribbean vacations. Jim Daniels, a veteran cruiser, he's going to talk with us about the Port of Seattle, what to do there, in the day or so before you sail. Then we have Kat Sorensen, the Visitors Bureau in Seward, and Cody Jennings is the Visitors Bureau in Skagway. All of those will be our guests coming up, so we're going to get to talk a lot about Alaska. But next week, we're going to talk Caribbean. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate everybody being here. Again, if you haven't hit subscribe and hit notify, please do so that you get the notification we're going to have the show again. And I really appreciate you all being here. We'll see you next time.